Good morning, YouTube family and friends. I'm back with another one, y'all. So today I just want to speak on this Jeffrey Dahmer movie or series that I watched. I watched. It took me about 2 days to watch the entire, all the episodes, and I just want to give my thoughts and opinion on it. First, okay. First, let me tell you what was Mr. Dahmer's issue, because we all know, even the ones that did not watch it, we knew what happened back in '91 when the police raided Mr. Dahmer's apartment after one of his victims escaped and ran into the police, and police actually took the victim back to Mr. Dahmer's apartment. And they looked around, and that's when they decided to arrest him. So I'm going to start with what his issue was, and then I'm going to go back to my opinion on that. So Mr. Dahmer is what you call a necrophilia. And a necrophilia is, the definition of a necrophilia is a person who has obsession with and usually erotic interest in or stimulation by corpse, with corpse. And it's also a felony that carries 1 to 10 years imprisonment. These type of people are very, very happy in dark places. Like, it could be completely dark, pitch dark in their bedroom, and they're completely happy, like sitting on the floor, wide awake in the dark. This is a very happy feeling for them. Okay, so there's 3 types of necrophilias. You have the necrophilic homicide, which is a person who murders to obtain a corpse for sexual purpose. And then you have the necrophilic fantasy, which is a person who fantasizes about viewing or having sexual intercourse with a corpse as a means of achieving sexual excitement. And the third one is necrophilic. A regular necrophilia is, I already gave you that definition. So it's necrophilia, which is the obsession with and usually erotic interest in or stimulation by corpse. Necrophilic homicide, a person who murders to obtain a corpse for sexual purpose. And necrophilic fantasy is a person who fantasizes about viewing or having sexual intercourse with a corpse as a means of achieving, I don't know why I keep wanting to say achieve, but achieving sexual excitement. Okay, so that was his diagnosis. Jeffrey Dahmer was excited with corpse, excited in a sexual way. And now, my opinion from watching the series, they label him gay. Yeah, he's gay because he wanted to have sex with men, but he didn't want to be touched, if you notice. He wanted to, like, lay on your chest, and maybe you could rub him or whatever. But I noticed in a few series when men were like, okay, let's just go on and get it on. Let's go and do these. I think they were probably male prostitutes. I don't know. They didn't say that, but this is just my opinion, y'all. Because I seen a couple of guys where they didn't, it wasn't like, let's make love, I want to be your partner. It was more like he took them to he used to take them to this little place. I can't think of what's the name of it. It was something popular back in the days when homosexuals wasn't really Well, I'm not gonna say they wasn't really out, but homosexuals, it was more downplayed back in the 80s and 90s, as opposed to today, where I mean people is just being who they are, and there's nothing wrong with that. They should be. Um, so Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer admitted to killing 17 men and boys, but in my opinion, there was more. I believe that some he probably just didn't even remember because he stayed intoxicated. Like, it almost seemed to me that he had to be intoxicated to even commit the murders. That's my opinion. Um, he went on a killing spree for 13 years unnoticed. Okay. Um, my opinion on this, y'all, is that it was noticed. People knew. I believe his parents knew. His grandparents knew. The police definitely knew. Like I said, I believe it was way more victims than what's been talked about, what's been discussed. And the reason why I say that is because, in my opinion, from watching the series, I saw a few get away. The grandmother, due to the grandmother, about 2 or 3 escaped due to her. If it wasn't for her, they would have been dead. No doubt about it. She stepped in and saved some lives. And she probably didn't know she was saving lives, but she definitely knew something was wrong with her grandson, something very strange. She thought he was gay, and she wanted him to attend church because she thought that would be the way of getting that sexual demon out of him. She probably didn't know to the extent his he actually has an illness. It's not a sexuality. It's past that. She may not have knew how deep rooted his illness was, but I believe his father knew. I believe that's why his father was comfortable with him in Milwaukee, away from them. I believe his father kind of feared him a little bit. I heard him say in the docuseries that he felt uncomfortable around Jeffrey. So that could go a lot of ways, but it also could mean that you kind of may fear that person. You know that person is unpredictable. If you know if you understand what I'm saying. Now, this entire apartment building smelled like dead flesh. Okay. Everybody in the building smelled it. Everybody in the building complained about it. They called the Milwaukee Police Department several times. Many times, not several, many times. As you can see, one of the victims, the 14-year-old, actually escaped, got out of the apartment, but had a hole had been drilled in his head, and he was super out of it from the drugs that Mr. Dahmer gave him. So police department gave him right back to Dahmer. Dahmer said, "This is my boyfriend. He's intoxicated." Even with the neighbors saying, "No, something is wrong. Do you see this boy is young? He's too young to be with." It just, the police totally ignored it. Then when you ask yourself, where was he getting acid from? Where was he getting the drugs that he had to drug these people? Like, this killing spree shouldn't have lasted more than a year. Like, really. 13 years, and everybody around you complaining. Everybody around you see something ain't normal with you. Everybody but the police department. In my opinion, the police department knew, and they just didn't care, y'all. And the reason why I say this is because back in those, I remember clearly when this happened. I'm 51. I remember this like yesterday. It was all over the television, okay, for a long time. I remember the day that Mr. Dahmer was killed in prison. I remember the court date when the lady was in the courtroom yelling, "I hate you, Jeffrey Dahmer." I remember all of that. I watched all of that. And in my opinion, back then, gays, homosexuals, LGBTQ was hated by many. Straight people, especially men, straight men, they hated gays. We already know about the racism, so I don't have to go too far into that. So now you got gay black men. The majority of people that were being murdered were gay black men and boys. Milwaukee didn't get no care about that, y'all. Why? Because they were 1, black, 2, gay. That's my opinion. I'm sorry I feel that way, but that's how I feel. I believe if they would have been white gay boys, it would not have went on as long as it did. Well, white gay men and boys. I believe just because of their sexuality that the Milwaukee Police Department just did not give a fuck. And I'm sorry for this. Sometimes I'm just direct like that. They did not care. Back then, back during that time, I had an uncle. My father's brother was gay. And he was, I guess, today he would be called a trainee. Because he dressed in women clothes. He made his face up. As a matter of fact, he taught me how to polish my fingernails. I didn't know he was my uncle till I was about 6. I thought he was my auntie. And I'm not trying to be funny. This is my uncle, my father's baby brother. I love him dearly. He changed his name. His name was Robert, but his nickname was Beaver. But he changed his name to Barber. And he was murdered. He was strangled to death. I don't believe it had nothing to do with Jeffrey Dahmer. First of all, his death occurred in Chicago, Illinois, on the north side. That's where LGBTQ always resided north. In Chicago, the north side always been full of LGBTQ. But anyway, my uncle was murdered, and his murder was never solved, and that's because the police don't care. They don't care about a black gay man. So those are my feelings, and now you know why I feel that way. So now, yeah. So one neighbor in particular, she really called the police a lot because it was right next door to her. She heard a lot through the vents. She smelled this odor through the vents. You know, she even called the police, literally saying someone is being murdered next door. And they did nothing about it. They totally ignored this lady. And Milwaukee Police Department is to blame. Milwaukee Police Department should have been held accountable. 2 of the officers that arrived on the scene with the 14-year-old, they were even honored at the towards the end of the series. They had some type of big award ceremony, and they were honored for what their duty, their what they did on duty as police officers. And the lady that kept calling the police, she was also honored, but she was honored like this an example, like in a little small police, a little small conference room of the police department with just her neighbors and the commander, the chief of the police, or commander. I don't pay attention to his title, but she was awarded and acknowledged in a room full of maybe 20 people, while these other officers that allowed the 14-year-old boy to go back into the apartment with Jeffrey Dahmer and get murdered were awarded. Isn't that strange? So, you know, I want to say this. Necrophilia, those type of people, they like to choose occupations that put them in direct contact with corpse. And it's also common for them to commit suicide. So Jeffrey Dahmer probably, if he would not have got caught, he probably would have ended up committing suicide. But how many bodies later, you know? In my opinion, Jeffrey Dahmer killed at least 25 to maybe 30 men. That's my opinion. They're only accounting the men that he admitted to killing? What about the men that he possibly forgot about? I have drank too much before and woke up the next day and didn't remember a goddamn thing. So could he have forgot about some of the murders? Could he have chose not to speak on some of the murders? I just think it's more. And I think that a lot of people knew and a lot of people turned a blind eye to it. Milwaukee Police Department needs to be held accountable. If I resided in Milwaukee, I probably would be raising hell. I'm sure the families were compensated, but sometimes that's just not enough. These murders, these were. It's very difficult to have a family member be murdered, but it's extremely difficult when you learn about the way they were murdered and what was done to their corpse after they were murdered, because we don't believe in that. We believe in funeralizing our people and putting them away, burying them. Some people cremate, but either way, we don't abuse our corpse in no way. That's something we don't do. That's something that's just not tolerated in our communities, in our race. I know, and ain't nothing black doing it, and I don't think anything white either. What I'm trying to say is, if you're in your rightful mind, that's just not common. It's just not. So, yeah, that's really, let me make sure I touched on everything. I try to keep my little stuff real short. Yeah, that's it. I spoke on his killing spree started in 1978 and ended in 1991. 13 years of killing men and boys. He admitted to killing 17. Yeah, that's about it. So, some people may not want to watch it. I like to know. I don't even like watching scary stuff. But I'd like to know what really be going on. Like I said, I remember when all of this took place, but it was interesting watching it, because you saw more details. You saw his childhood. That's something you want to know about, because the father played a big role in this. I don't think he intentionally took part in turning his son into a murderer, but he played a big role in it without even realizing it, trying to find a way to have a bond with his son and do something with his son that interests his son, and it was just the wrong idea. And strangely, the father even said he had those same type of feelings and thoughts as a teenager or young adult, but he was able to not act on them. So this was, in my opinion, hereditary. Like his father had, his mother took 20-something psych drug, 20-something pills, psychiatric medication while pregnant with him. That's a chemical imbalance right there in the brain on an embryo, So Jeffrey never had a chance. So I just be, try to get in tune with things to that nature. And I'm done with Jeffrey Dahmer. Nairi, she's one of the Dubosky people. I saw a screenshot from her community chat. She's saying that Dubosky gun was found unresponsive. I don't think she would lie about anything like that. But if that's true, I'm praying for him. We had differences. He's a person that I would never deal with on a friendship level again, but I never wish bad on anybody. I think you're low down. I think you're a piece of shit. I think you're at the bottom of the barrel and just wasn't raised properly. Your parents didn't teach you well if you mock or tease or speak negative on anything pertaining to that. Anybody's illnesses, people with long-term illnesses that may have to like take dialysis, or for myself I have to use an asthma pump, I have to use steroid pump, probably once or twice a week take a nebulizer treatment, which is, for asthma. I'm severely asthmatic, you're the bottom of the earth. You're a piece of shit to even speak on that type of thing, So, no, I don't wish anything like that for Mr. Gunn. I'm praying for him, and I hope everything works out for him as far as his health and things like that go. I'm also praying for Miss Stamps. I'm not going to put 312 business out, but say a prayer for her mom. Her mom is under the weather. I remember her mentioning it to me when we was in Mr. Kelly's trial, but she also told me that her mama was doing fine, and I was under the impression that her mom was okay, but I just found out last night that her mom is ill. So please say a prayer for Miss Stamps. Okay, you guys, with all that being said, yeah, pray for Mr. Gunn, pray for Miss Stamps. Anybody else that's under the weather, not feeling good, have to, it's a certain way you have to live, like on dialysis, all of that. I'm praying, I keep you all in my prayers, the people that I know that's dear to me, and I'm asking you all pray too. And with that being said, I'm out. Peace, love, and happiness. Out of here.